Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. I'm a little behind today. Yeah, 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 yeah. Good morning. I'm a little behind today. Yes, I am. Good morning. Good morning to you and many more and many more and many more. All right, let us see my tea party. Good morning. I am trying to man three different things this morning. So let me go to here. Let's go to start live audio, and here we go. Hello, 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 hello. I hope people can hear me. If you can hear me, put something into the chat here today. I want to say good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning to my party here, and still trying to work out the logistics. So I am, let's see, trying to see if I see anyone here yet. I do not, but I'm going to go ahead and continue to talk. So, welcome to Mindset Monday, Monday Motivation with Shantae Charles. I am also on YouTube at Life Nation KC. I'm also on Instagram at Daring Dialogues. So I want to thank those of you who will come in and catch the replay. And I also want to thank those of you who are tuning in live. I'm trying to man three different devices at one time. And it's a little challenging this morning, but I'm going to get through it. So if you would just bear with me for a moment. All right. Okay. Today we're going to start off by reading from Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, Daily Motivations for African American Success. Today is February 10th. It's also one of my younger brother's birthdays, so happy birthday, Will. And it's also one of my godson's birthdays, so happy birthday, Mark. Um, Interestingly enough, both of them have very similar personalities. One is just younger than the other. So, February 10th says, Say, do you know where I can find a job? Louis Armstrong said this: Man, if you gotta ask, you'll never know. I love how he puts that so bluntly. And it says, We were all saddened to learn of the death this week of one of our most hardworking citizens, someone else. Someone else's passing creates a huge void in our community that will be difficult to fill. Else was with us for many years. The level of his caring and commitment was highly evident. Someone else did far more than a normal person's share of the work. Whenever there was a job to do, overtime to pull, or a meeting to attend, one name was on everyone's lips: let someone else do it. It was common knowledge that someone else was the hardest worker in our neighborhood. Whenever there was a need, everyone just assumed someone else would volunteer. Someone else was a wonderful person, often appearing superhuman. In all honesty, everyone expected too much of someone else. Now, someone else is gone. What will happen to our schools, our churches, our children, our neighborhoods? Someone else left a marvelous example to follow. But who is going to do the work someone else did? Black America cannot depend on someone else anymore to build our communities, develop our institutions, and uplift our race. It is up to you. So we can no longer get someone else to do it. Today, I will take the initiative to help my community move forward. And I took that as a part of my own ethos for life. I said, I've got to do something to help my community move forward. I've got to do something to get education and helpful resources out to my community. I've got to do something to push my culture forward. I've got to do something that highlights what is good happening in my culture and amongst our people. And so I started a social media page by the name of Black Table Talk. And that page is now at 130,000 followers. Why? Because there was a need. I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a need, but apparently it was. And a lot of people are being encouraged over there on that social media page. A lot of people are finding information and resources. A lot of people are being inspired by what they see happening in our community beyond, you know, twerking and ratchetness. Because there are plenty of pages, right? There are plenty of pages that focus on the negative, or there are plenty of pages that focus on the gossip, right? But pages that educate, pages that inspire, pages that are talking about what's happening good in our community, pages that are talking about the business aspects of our community, the inventors, the scientists, the librarians, the history makers. We're getting more of those pages, absolutely. But when I formed my page, it wasn't a whole lot of pages that was focusing on that. And so, with that being said, I'm very glad that people are joining in and that people are on that train of positivity, because there is so many good things happening in our community that often doesn't make it to our news stations. And so that was one of the reasons why I started that page. All right. We're moving on. We're moving to our book for today. We're looking at Black Love Letters, edited by Cole Brown and Natalie Johnson, with a foreword by John Legend. Now, this is a book of different well known people who are writing concerning love, loss, um, your children, all of these different topics. So, I'm going to pick a topic for today. Let's see. This one is by Jane Allen. It's called A Love Letter to My Blackness, which I Finally Understand. And hello and good morning to those of y'all who are joining us on the live streams and the sound. Good morning, Sip and Chill. Thank you for joining us. A Love Letter to My Blackness, which I Finally Understand. And good morning, KL Berto and Pastor Ben. A Love Letter to My Blackness, which I Finally Understand by Jane Allen. I was called black, but for the longest time, especially as a child, I had no idea what you were. I knew to check for you in paper boxes while you awaited my embrace. I imagined you with the if you knew what I know kind of smile perfected by grandmothers who sewed quilts and made butter pound cakes and steaming pots of collard greens all on the same day. From my time of pigtails to pressing curls, you waited patiently for me to notice you, to perceive your value. Like me, the late bloomer whose beauty was on delay, eager for recognition. I hoped and prayed for long straight hair and had a relationship with the sun that ignored the power of my melanin. I was careful with my diction, immaculate with grammar, and was sure I could achieve my way out of any predicament. Good grades have no color, I was told. I thought because that's what everyone told me to think, you and I were the last chosen, the least desired, the ones with the most to prove. I was an awkward teenager, unsure of where I fit in. You made your own place in the world. Still, we became friends. I could bet on you to have all the best music, so generously shared. The soul, the funk, the highest notes, the smoothest crooning, the window shaking bass, the prince, the kings, and all the queens. You lived life in the brightest colors. We started to have fun together. You were an entry into the greatest times of my life. Parties where everyone danced on the even beats, food that lit up my mouth in every dimension, jokes that snapped so hard I had to double over to get all the laugh out. But I never loved you deeply, at least not until I found myself in Washington, D.C. one day with time on my hands. There, I visited the Smithsonian Museum of African American History. On the bottom floor, I encountered the Middle Passage. I traveled up through time, through enslavement, then abolition, then Reconstruction. I met the Jim Crow refugees, the civil rights survivors, plus those who were not, the eminent domain withstanders, and those who could not. Until finally, after hours of walking through every reason why there should be no me, all I could see was you. You are the me that made it through. Distilled excellence, my blackness. You are not a shadow, but the light instead that shines through darkness, illuminating my steps. You are the part of me that will always find a way forward. My love for you is an ever expanding appreciation. I dance you, eat you, speak you, write you, wear you, bathe you in the sun, lavish you in shea butter, and laugh in the way that you laugh until my belly hurts and the tears fall. And I cry for you. I march for you still. I pray for you, for your freedom, and for mine. That's really beautiful. Man, that brought up many, so many memories. Um, Even at my time, I do some tours um, at the Historical African American Museum, History, Art, and Culture here in the DC area. I do tours there. I've done six so far, but it never gets old going to that museum because there's so much there to take in that you really have to spend a whole day there. Sometimes they do like 2 hour tickets where you only have a 2 hour slot of time depending on how many visitors are there. Sometimes it's 4 hours, but you really need to be able to spend a entire day in that museum to really soak in all the nuances that are in that museum. Same thing with the International African American Museum in Charleston. We went there last summer. Now, I would say compared to the one in DC, it doesn't even compare to the one in DC. Like if I had a choice, or if you had a choice of which one to go see, I would definitely say come see the one in DC because the one in Charleston is more focused on the diaspora more than it is focused on us. But that's a whole other conversation. But we spent like 4 or 5 hours in the one in Charleston, and I was able to see pretty much everything there. So it's definitely not as big and extensive as the one in DC either. But it just brought back as she was kind of talking about it because the base level floor, when I'm doing a tour with people, I often say, if you are Black American, you really should start your exhibit or your tour from the top down, even though this person went the opposite way. But if you are non Black American, you definitely need to start your tour from the basement up to understand how far Black people have come in this country and how far we still have yet to go. Like it's worth it's worth the trip to come to DC to visit the museum and even stay for, even if you can only come for a weekend, to just come to see the museum because there is so much to learn in that museum. And good morning, Nerd Boy Q. Thank you for joining us as well. All right, love letter to my blackness. When, tell me if you can in the chat, if you are a black person, when did you come to recognize that your blackness was something that made you different? Did somebody point it out to you? And can you pinpoint when it was pointed out to you? I can pinpoint when mine was pointed out to me. I was around 5, 6 years old, and I had a friend in um, kindergarten, and the friend was a little white boy, and we were always hanging out together, always playing with each other, and we were really, really close friends, and we would walk around the school holding hands and just, you know, being friends. And one day I remember us walking into the school cafeteria and we were both holding hands and we were just talking and we were just happy and smiling. And I remember the teachers looking at us very strangely. I remember it. And we sat down at our table, we ate our food, and I went home. Nothing was wrong. But I came back the next day, and as soon as my friend met up with me and I went to grab his hand, he said, I can't grab your hand anymore. He said, I can't grab your hand anymore. We can't hold hands. And then he said this. He said, my daddy said, I can't marry you. I was like, wait a minute. How we jump from holding hands in the cafeteria to your daddy said you can't marry me? I was like, what? That was that was weird. I was 5 years old. And from that point on, he never like talked to me and held my hand or sat with me at lunch or anything. It was just like a complete cutoff. And he went to go and hang out with some other little young white boys at another table. So that was my first experience with recognizing that there was something different about me because the child said it. And he said, my daddy said, I can't marry you because you're black. So that was my first experience with somebody telling me that my blackness was going to make a decision about whether or not I could have a friend and whether somebody would want to marry me. I was 5 years old when I got that lesson. So there's this meme that continues to run around the internet about, if our children had to deal with segregation and integration of schools, then the children of those people should be able to learn about it. If our children had to experience it, they should at least be able to learn about it. And I look at my own life and I say, yeah, at 5 years old, I didn't have a choice as to whether or not I wanted that lesson. That lesson got handed to me whether I wanted it or not. So think about that today. If you are a person of color, if you are a black person, think about it. When was the first time you were actually made conscious of your color and that your color made a difference in how you were treated? Okay? Now, some people say they never got that kind of wake up call, or it wasn't until later in life that they experienced any kind of racism or, outward demonstration that there was something that they were being judged by other than their character. But my lesson came at 5 years old. And since 5 years old, I'm 47 now. Since 5 years old, I have been continually getting lessons that I didn't ask for, that continue to get handed to me. And I learn more and more and more about how people see color. and how they judge you for it. Still lots of lessons I didn't ask for, but I'm getting them, right? And so it's interesting when we have people that deny or are in denial of these truths of how people are treated regarding their skin color. I'm going to read one more. This one is called Iron Woman by Cole Brown. Iron Woman. We call you mama, though chef and doctor and dad would all suit. Captain, too. The way you steered us through the storms of adolescence, divorce, losses of lives, and innocence. The world thinks you're strong, ironclad, which you are of will and spirit and resolve, but of body you're frail. The world may not know that, but I do. I see you wince and hear your groans. You insist there was a time before your delicacy when you could run and jump and swim like the others. I believe you, then strain to imagine, but I have only ever known you as you are now. And for that reason, I have always suspected that I won't have you for long. When we part for long stretches, I have a hunch that it will be for the last time. I know what I'd say, though, should the worst come to pass. I'd ask the congregation to sit up in their seats real straight and still. I'd tell them all to remember that we in the house of the Lord, so they better be honest because they wouldn't be lying to me. They'd be lying to God Himself, and He'd know the difference, and today is a real good day for smiting. Then I'd say, if she warmed your insides, please stand. And they all would. Of course they would. Even the jerk next door, and the drunk woman in Paris that called us négresses, and the boss that started Trump tripping, and the trifling cousins, siblings, and friends, and your ex husband with mixed memories, the world that thought you strong. I'd feel that warmth, your last flicker. And then I'd say, if she made the grass grow, please stand. And I'd be the only one standing again, me and the little girl that leaned on you like I did, just us two. Then the terror. What now? Fear of loss. That's my love for you, Iron Woman. You have anybody like that in your life? Someone to which you have leaned on, someone to which you have dependent on, someone to which you have sensed their struggle, and if they were to depart, you would feel their loss. Iron Woman. The final reading that we're going to do today is from a book called I Can't Wait to Call You My Wife, African American Letters of Love and Family in the Civil War Era. If you were with us on last week, we've been talking about the importance of us telling our own story, us being able to write our own stories. And this morning, I was at my desk working with a client, and my great aunt sent me a few pictures of my great grandfather's gun. And I opened up the picture and I saw these pictures of this gun, and I felt like I don't know, it was like an electric jolt went through my body just looking at the pictures. The gun is what they call an Indian musket, and it had his first name engraved on the gun from 1827. I want you to think about that. 1827, pre-Civil War. That gun is almost 200 years old. 200 years old. Before the Civil War, my great grandfather was packing. And I don't know, the joy that flooded my soul, the joy that flooded my soul, knowing, even the more I knew before, but knowing that I come from a line of resistance. Because one of the things about my great grandfather is twice he had to fend off the Klan from trying to come onto his property, attack our homestead and take our land. My great grandfather had 12 children, one of them being my grandmother, seven boys and five girls, and he taught them all to shoot so that if the Klan tried to come, he would send them out. He would go out first and he would shoot, and he had a plan for his family. And he said, if I go down, I want the next one of you to come out and start shooting. If they go down, the next one comes out and start shooting. If they go down, the next one comes out and start shooting till all 12. They got to go through 12 of us. 14 really. Him, my great grandmother, and their 12 kids. They got to go through 14 people before they can get their hands on this property. So that's the tradition that I come from, that I am proud of, and it's a tradition of resistance. So when I saw those pictures today, because she still has the gun in her possession. Now, technically, it is considered an antique, so it doesn't have to be registered and all of that. So it's considered a historical item now. But the point is, I can't wait to get my hands on this 1827 Indian musket from my great grandfather. So when we talk about these stories, it is from the lens of understanding. We have our own stories to tell, and we cannot leave our stories in the hands of people who, number one, don't know how to tell the truth. Don't leave your story in the hands of somebody who doesn't know how to tell the truth. That's number one, because your story and your family story and lineage might get skewed in the middle of everything. So today I'm reading from this book, and I'm going to read you another letter. These are letters from the Civil War time and a little bit past it, from people who were writing about what was happening to them during the Civil War time. Some of them who were emancipated were looking for their families. We often hear about the separations, but we don't hear enough about those who were writing and communicating back and forth, those who were actually looking for their family members. They didn't just get freed and then just walk away. So it's important for us to read these kinds of stories. This one is Louisa Piquet. Louisa Piquet's story ends better for at least one family member. Separated from her mother for 22 years, Louisa, who now lives in Ohio, learned that her mother, Elizabeth Ramsey, was the enslaved person of Colonel A.C. Horton in Wharton County, Texas. Louisa and her husband tried to raise the purchase price that Horton demanded. In the meantime, mother and daughter corresponded. In a letter dated March 8, 1859, Ramsey explains to her daughter that it would take $2,500 in 1859 money to buy both her and John, Louisa's 15-year-old brother. Within a year, the slaveholder changed his mind and he would not sell John at any price. Yeah, they often did that too. So let's see what she writes. This is Matagorda, Matagorda, Texas, April 21st, 1860. Dear daughter, I received your kind and affectionate letter and was glad to hear that you was well and getting along very well. I was sorry to learn that you were disappointed in raising the amount of money required to purchase me. In conversation with my master, he says he is willing to take a woman in exchange for me of my age and capacity, or he will, under the circumstances, take $900 in cash from me. He also says that money cannot buy John. He is a training John to take charge of one of his plantations and will not part with him until death parts them. I should be very happy to see you, my dear daughter, as well as my grandchildren. I hope there will be a way provided for us to meet on earth once more before we die. Can't you come and see us? Your brother John is well and desires to be very kindly remembered to you. Farewell, my dear daughter. May God protect you from all evil, is the prayer of your affectionate mother, Elizabeth Ramsey. Eventually, abolitionists in Ohio and elsewhere were able to help Louisa Piquet raise the $900 to purchase her mother's freedom. Elizabeth Ramsey finally saw her daughter and met her grandchildren in October 1860. And as far as we know from the record, her son went on to become a overseer of a plantation probably up until the Civil War. The image that I'm showing you here, I know my still audience can't see it. It's in Alexandria, Virginia. It is a slave pen operated by Price Birch and Company. These were all dealers in slaves. This is circa 1861 to 1869. Look at this. In the image, you can see, if you can see the sign above the men's heads, it literally says Price, right? Price and Birch, and then it says dealers in slaves. Now, this is not going to be put into your American history book because then that would make them complicit in owing, you know, those reparations that they claim that they don't owe. It literally says dealers in slaves. I might take a photograph of this one and post it today because we still have a nation that is in denial, full denial. One last letter. I believe. Oh, this is lengthy. Let me hold off on doing that one today. We'll do it tomorrow. This particular set of letters is from Dangerfield Newby, who I believe Django, the film Django, is based off of. So we'll hold off on doing that one. Okay. One last one I'll do here. In his letter to his family on the eve of his execution for participating in John Brown's raid, 25-year-old John A. Copeland, an Oberlin, Ohio carpenter, abolitionist, and teacher, tells his family that he is at peace with God and explains why he was willing to sacrifice his life for the holy cause. Oh, yeah, he's definitely going on my page today on Black Table Talk. Yes, he is. This is John A. Copeland. This is John A. Copeland, who gave his life for the holy cause of freeing trafficked human beings to the Americas. He wrote this, Charlestown, Virginia, November 26, 1859, one day before my birthday. Dear father and mother, I now take my pen to address you for the first time since I have been in the situation that I am now in. My silence has not been occasioned by my want of love for you, but because I wish to wait and find what my doom would be. I am well at this time and as happy as it is possible to be under the circumstances. I received your kind and affectionate letter, which brought much consolation to me, and the advice that you have therein given me. I thank God I can say I have accepted and I have found that consolation which can only be found by accepting and obeying such advice. Dear Father and Mother, happy am I that I can now truthfully say that I have sought the Holy Bible and have found that everlasting life in its holy advice, which man can from no other source obtain. Yes, I have now in the 11th hour sought for and obtained that forgiveness from my God, whose kindness I have outraged nearly all my life. Dear parents, my fate, so far as man can seal it, is sealed. But let not this fact occasion you any misery. For remember the cause in which I was engaged. Remember it was a holy cause, one in which men in every way better than I am have suffered and died. Remember that if I must die, I die in trying to liberate a few of my poor and oppressed people from a condition of servitude against which God in his word has hurled his most bitter denunciations. If die I must, I shall try to meet my fate as a man who can suffer in the glorious cause in which I have been engaged, without a groan, and meet my Maker in heaven, as a Christian man who through the saving grace of God has made his peace with him. Dear parents, dear bros and sisters, miserable indeed would I be if I were confined in this jail awaiting the execution of the law for committing a foul crime, but this not being the case. I must say, though I know you all will feel deeply the fate I am to meet, that I feel more deeply on account of the necessity of myself or any other man having to suffer by the existence of slavery than from the mere fact of having to die. It is true I should like to see you all once more on the earth, but God wills otherwise. Therefore I am content, for most certainly I do believe that God wills everything for the best good, not only of those who have to suffer directly, but of all. And this being the case, I beg of you not to grieve about me. Now, dear parents, I beg your forgiveness for every wrong I have done you, for I know that I have not at all times treated you as I ought to have done. Remember me while I shall live, and forget me not when I am no longer in this world. Give my love to all my friends. Now, dear father and mother, I will close this last, or at present I think last letter I shall have the pleasure of writing to you. Goodbye, mother and father. Goodbye, brothers and sisters. And by the assistance of God, meet me in heaven. I remain your most affectionate son, John A. So, John A. Copeland gave us get free or die trying. I know we have another motto that we hear all the time, get rich or die trying, but John Copeland was trying to get people free or die trying. These are the stories that we need to hear. John Copeland was a Christian who said this was a holy cause. This wasn't just us getting into some trouble. This was a holy cause to release people from the terror and the evil of enslavement and bondage. These are the Christians we need in 2025. All right. I hope you have enjoyed these readings today. I want to thank you for your time and attention on Spill. We're going to go to the talkback now on Instagram. And also, if you're on YouTube, I want to thank you for taking time to watch and view and listen today. I hope that these stories, these writings have inspired you, thinking about your own life, thinking about your own risks that you're willing to take. How committed are you to the cause of freedom and liberty for all? That's what it makes me think about. That this person was not just talking the talk, but he was willing to go meet his maker for the holy cause of liberation. All right. So I want to thank you again. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be light. If you would want to join us for the talkback, you can meet us over on Instagram. My handle is at Daring Dialogues. Thank you for your time and your attention. Be well, and most importantly, be light. All right.